Everyone, welcome to my channel, Books, Scares, and Purrs. My name's Leslie, and here we are for another Double Tag Tuesday. You might notice that in all these tags, I'm wearing the same thing. I promise you, I'm not wearing the same thing all month. I just recorded these all on the same day. All right, so for both these tags, the same person tagged me. So thank you so much for reading through the generations. I'm actually a new subscriber to your channel. So thank you for tagging me. I look forward to checking out your channel and I appreciate you making this connection. So you yourself did a double tag for both of these. So I'm tackling both. So here's a little bit of the preamble. I would love to hear about your answers to any of these questions. Thanks so much for watching. These are original tags created by Micah Cummins. The eReader book tag, my first original tag, and Bangsy Bangs. He no longer has a channel, so I was unable to find his original video. So, with that said, here's the first prompt. Black coffee. Name a series that's tough to get into but has hardcore fans. I really enjoyed A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin. The first book, you know what it was? It was the language, the way that the author writes the language of the book took a minute for me to get into. So I think that that may be a hurdle for some people. It is fantasy, but also feels like a historical piece in a way. And so I could see how that could be like a deterrent for some, but the plots, all the plotting that goes on in A Song of Ice and Fire is just so intriguing that I think that's what really has people continuing to read, and just like how deep deep and specific the characters are. They just feel very much lived in. And so that's another great connection. So if you ever picked up that series and you found yourself like not really into from the beginning, I'd say give it another try. It's just it takes a while to get used to the melody of his writing, I think. But once you do, you're locked in. You're in for the long haul. Two, Peppermint Mocha. Name a book that gets more popular during the winter or a festive time of year. I'd have to say I've really enjoyed how many uh, segments, because I'm also on Instagram, um, that I see regarding Twilight once we hit a certain season of the year. It's just like everyone says it's hoa hoa season or whatever. And that always cracks me up because it's such a specific nod to the movie and the song that's in the movie. Um, so yeah, I'm sure the Twilight series makes a huge run as well as the movies during a particular time of year. That just cracks me up. Three, hot chocolate. What is your favorite children's book? I have a lot of favorite ones. Just because I want to name something different, I'd say Charlotte's Web. Um, Once my daughter hit a certain age where she was able to read that book on her own, I grabbed her a copy and I ended up reading it as well. And it had been so long since I read it, but it still is so emotionally moving, and really speaks to the power of friendship and like found family. I love that book. All right, double shot of espresso. Name a book that kept you on the edge of your seat from start to finish. There's like a really funny romance that by an author. It's She writes a world where the characters are like loosely connected. They don't even have to know each other. And one of them that I read was I Accidentally Slept with a Vampire. I'm sorry, I don't have the book in front of me, so I can't think of the author's name. But that was just so much fun. It really felt more of like an adventure than it did a romance. Like it's definitely in there. It's a little smutty, but I had so much fun. Like it feels like a roller coaster ride. It's just such a thrill and so ridiculous. And I love the characters in that book. So uh, I'll be really grateful because I picked up a copy of that one when I read it, and I'm glad I did. It's just so much fun. All right, 5. Starbucks. Name a book you see everywhere. All right, so there's a series called Akator. Akator. I see everyone talking about it. I know Ven from Ven's Corner. Noah. Oh my gosh, Noah. I can't think of your channel name right now. My brain is blank. There's also Elaine from Cobalt Dragon. Sorry, Noah. I don't know where my brain went. That they talk about the Akatar series. Uh and it's like they're all reading it, they're enjoying it, but it's also punishment for themselves as well. So enjoying hearing them talk about it. I have yet to read it. I don't know if I'll ever read it. Maybe somewhere down the line I'll read it and I will enjoy it. But there's plenty of people that love the books and then plenty of people that critique the books. And so those are definitely that's a book series I see everywhere. All right, 6. The hipster coffee shop. Give a book and indie author a shout out. Oh, hipster. You know what's so funny? I totally read this wrong the first time. So I'm going to um now that I read it out loud, I'm going to give Margaret Pinard a shout out. That's what I'll do. Margaret Pinard has a YouTube channel, so they're like more in the author tube space. But I'd say they actually do way more like book reviews, book discussions than the author tube side of things. They're very approachable. They're always yeah, they're very approachable and inviting. And she has some deep philosophical and political discussions. She really does the work. Because she knows so much about history and my personal favorite food, we have some great chats. I want to give them a shout out because they do have so many, they have like written so many books. There's so many more I have to read. I've read a short story collection by them. I've read a trilogy. They came out with a book, I think at the end of last year, um, that I really loved. Actually, I still have to do a review about that one. Um, and yeah, so I'm giving them a shout out. Go check them out. I've mentioned them plenty here before, and I've been very fortunate where I've been asked onto the channel to have discussions. And some of the topics that we talk about, I just feel like, wow, I'm really over my head. And I think that speaks volumes to Margaret that she's just kind of like, come on, jump on the wagon. We'll figure this out together. So I really appreciate that about her, and just any indie author that has like an inviting spirit. I will always have lots of love for. So 7. Oops, I accidentally got decaf. Name a book you are expecting more from. I buddy read a book. Sorry about the noise outside. I buddy read Murder by Cheesecake, a Golden Girls cozy mystery with Sam for our Lust and Lawless segment. Um, I didn't have enough critiques for that book. Um, and that's even a bigger critique about the book because I just felt like I didn't know there wasn't like enough going on in the books. The author really captured the voices of the Golden Girls really well. Um, the murder mystery part didn't was kind of like didn't really work for me. And so I found myself having a real lack of interest in the story. And so thankfully, Sam really came through because I had to lean on her to have more of a critique discussion about that book because I felt like I was listening to it. I listened to audiobook and I kept like losing interest in a way. So that was unfortunate. 8. The perfect blend. Name a book or series that was both bitter and sweet, but ultimately satisfying. So I listened to an audiobook. It's a memoir. It's This American Woman, a One in a Billion memoir by Zarna Garg. She's an Indian American author, and she's also a stand-up comedian. I love comedy. She wrote a book. I think what happened was, yeah, she was doing stand-up, but she became more well known through social media like TikTok and Instagram, and that really helped her career take off. She just feels very relatable. You know, her whole family runs a business together. Basically, they have a podcast together. Um, they do. I'm sure it's more on the TikTok side, but I'm not on that. So I see it on Instagram. They have like little shorts where she like pretends to be a therapist instead of like her family or friends going to therapy. They talk to her. She gives like terrible advice, but it's really really funny and also like culturally specific for her, which I think really connects people. I say that all to say that listening to her memoir, you're really hearing someone that really felt she wasn't sure what she was going to do, but some of what was required for her um, within her own like social confines was not working for her. So she didn't have much, but ended up here in the United States with some family that took her in because she didn't have a good relationship with her own family because she wouldn't agree to what they wanted her to do. And so you just feel that spirit of someone that's like trying to figure themselves out. They may not have the answer, but they know what other people were trying to get her to do was not going to work. So there's this sense of, well, they know that other plan's not going to work, but the plans that they have for themselves are not necessarily working out, you know, but they still like, they believe them themselves. And it's also the people around them that really believe them that like push them forward. And it's also hilarious all the way through. I loved it. So it's definitely worth listening to the audiobook. I think I got more out of it. I think I found it potentially funnier than if I read the book, maybe, just because the author themselves is reading the book. So 9, An Irish Pub Song by the Rumjacks, a book that is misunderstood. I read Lone Women by Victor Lavelle. Uh, I really enjoyed it, but after reading it, I found out that just how many people did not like it. I think there's this expectation of what people are going into reading, and that threw off the reading experience for some, which I do respect. I think there's another book where that happened. I think that happened also with the Vampires of El Norte, is that because it has vampires in the title, people felt a little bit like disappointed by having very little vampires in it. So these are two books by two different authors, and the Vampires of El Norte is more about like the metaphorical vampire. So basically like colonialism. And I felt like in Victor Lavelle's book, Lone Women, so much of it is um, these women being thrust into like the Western historical era, and they're not. They have to like find strength in each other, and there's definitely so many harsh things that go along the way. But there is like this supernatural element that I think people maybe wanted more of or had an expectation of what it was going to be, and ended up being something else. But I found it really beautiful. I found it like really beautiful, sweet, and poignant. And sorry, I'm gonna sneeze. But I really ended up loving it. Excuse me. But I do understand. Actually, with both those books, um, I do understand the dissatisfactions for some. but I do feel like there's like a bit of a misunderstanding of what the readers thought they were going to get. And so that affected people's ability to enjoy the books for like what they were really. That is the end of the books and coffee tag. And the next one is the e-reader tag. All right. So, what was the first e-reader you ever owned? What was your reason for getting one? Were you a reluctant convert or an eager one? So, I had my first e-reader in my early 20s, and it was a Kindle Fire. Honestly, no, was it a Kindle Fire? Yeah, I think it was. I could be wrong. Man, oh man, let me tell you something. I did less reading. This is the one thing about the Kindle Fire was it's such a gadget type device. And the old version that I had was really great because it had like a USB uh connection and a separate one for the charger, which was perfect because I would hook it up to my TV um to watch certain things, which is like a great way to connect. Like I think for a while HBO, the app used to be on there, and that's how I watch it to the TV. Um, what I'm getting at is I'm so glad I got it, but I read less having the Kindle Fire more than anything. I think there was like Angry Birds. I had Angry Birds on it. So it was a device that should have been about reading, but I didn't I didn't really read on it. I used it for everything else. And man, I use that thing. I ran it into the ground until like it just wasn't working anymore. But I love that thing. If I could have kept it still, I would have. Um, two. Um, what e-reader do you use now? What e-reader do you own? So at some point, I turned in the Kindle Fire. I don't think I got much credit on it. It was again, it was like super old. I love that thing because the other editions of the Kindle Fire don't have the same components. Um, I ended up getting a Kindle Paperwhite. I got it like 2 years ago, maybe or a year ago, something like that. No, yeah, okay, the Kindle Paperwhite. So I got that, and I'm glad I got it because I work in front of a computer for my job. I have whatever job I'm at, it's always been in front of a computer. And I think my eyes are just could only handle so much digital time. So the Paperwhite is really easy on my eyes. It's super simple. Um, it's also very like accessible. And so I just like that accessibility that I have. And also I do like that they have like the clear cover cases now because then I could decorate it with stickers, which I've definitely done. Which is beyond the point of having a Kindle, but I just like that personal touch. But I definitely just use it purely for reading. That's another thing. I learned my lesson with the Kindle Fire. I cannot have a device like that with so many options because I will sit down and I will play a game and I will get sucked into it. Even my cell phone, on a rare occasion, I've added a game and I've enjoyed it so much, I immediately take it off. I'm like, nope, I'm not getting anything done if if I'm having this much fun. So I like the idea that there's less distraction and it's just for me just to read. All right, three. Do you read digitally or multi devices or always on the same device? If you use multiple, how do you decide which one to use? All right, so I do multiple. I love myself a paperback book. That's mainly just for how I take notes. I've tried so many different ways to take notes. I've tried to make like a separate notebook just because I don't want to forget anything. I've gotten to the point where I'm just back to getting like sticky notes, translucent stickies if I can, or just writing directly into the book. So I have an idea what my thoughts were when I had the thought and what page I was at. It's just easier for me. Yeah, it's just easier for me. And I also like to go back and reference books quite a bit, especially for booktube, or if I'm trying to remember something. I just like to have the physical book on hand. Um, I also like audiobooks depending on like my concentration because sometimes I have like concentration issues. it's easier if I have both. So I'll be listening to an audiobook and the book in front of me, especially at night when I just feel like, okay, it's game time. Let me just like focus. That really helps me stay on track, especially sometimes at night, my body, well, yeah, my body, but my mind starts to decompress and I'll start thinking about all sorts of different things. So listening to the audiobook along with the book helps me like stay focused. And yes, the e-reader as well, but it depends on the book. I do have some books that I like purchased ages ago, and by the time I get to the like physical book, sometimes I'll switch or I'll forget my book. So it's just easier to have my Kindle on hand. Um, and there's quite a few romance books that I've gotten through my e-reader, and so I kind of like just being able to grab it and have those set aside at my disposable. What am I saying? Disposable at my disposal to read, basically. Let me see. So yeah, I'm all over the place. 4. Do you still read physical books? If so, how do you decide which format to read a certain book in? It's purely out of utility. So yeah, I prefer I of all of them, I do prefer paper. There's something about like how I retain information. I don't know if it's just me or like across the board, that's everyone. But having like a physical book really helps me out. If that makes any sense. Let me see. What is something you dislike about reading ebooks? All right, so with my Kindle, the this is my phone, but on the bottom of the Kindle is where you turn the page. And I'm like, I don't know why they put it there. Why didn't they put it on the top? Because there's so many times when I'm reading and then my finger will accidentally hit the next page button and it upsets me. It's so frustrating. Um, yeah, so sometimes that happens to me where I'll like a flip through something. 6, would you ever ditch physical books completely and become a sole e-book reader? If yes, why? If no, why not? At some point, I don't know if I'll ever get there. There's always just going to be certain authors. I'm always going to get the physical copy of their book, um, just as like terms of reverence, like behind me is James Baldwin and Hanifa Durkee, two incredible writers. So those are kind of like the books that have stacked here. And now like I have like you can't really see it, but there's like plenty of Anne Rice books over here as well that I would like to keep. So there's just like an affection that I have towards physical copies. But at some point, I would definitely like to move more to digital. But that's a complicated thing because as we're learning, like once I buy a copy of book, it's mine and it can't be taken away. But what we're learning from like the digital world is that uh, you never know. We have to think about who owns the properties. And so when it comes to, let's say, like Amazon, we're learning that they could take away books. My concern is like what kind of abridged, having books abridged and censored has always been like an issue. Um, and so that's a big concern about the digital world as well. Because I just think it's just a riskier thing. So I don't know. It's making me constantly consider fully switching to digital. I don't think I'll ever fully switch to digital. Is really what I'm getting at. But it's definitely more accessible. Potentially hurts less trees, but yeah, it's something to think about. Let me see if I answered everything. 7 is a last question. Okay, book prompt. Where do you get your ebooks? Kindle store, library loans, third-party websites. So it's a mixture of two. I love on the Libby app, you could send your borrowed book to your e-reader basically. There's like an option and I could send it to my Kindle. Um, I love that function. I've used it plenty of times. I also still do like Kindle purchases through this store. Um, the thing is, what I've also learned from being in BookTube is I've connected to AuthorTube and realized that the Amazon platform, for whatever reason, I don't know, I don't have all the answers. It's just easier for authors to publish there than other through through other digital publications, I suppose. And so, with that said, I just I also want to focus on purchasing from more indie authors than traditional publishing. I guess that would be like physical copies. So that's also a great way to support indie authors is through the Kindle store. So that's why I tend to prefer that as well. With that said, I just went through 2 tags. So thank you so much for reading through the generations. I appreciate you tagging me. It's always nice to connect with others. If you're watching along with me, thank you so much. Feel free to answer any of these questions, even if you um, don't have a booktube channel and you just want to like have a conversation about any of these prompts, um, in case anything stuck out to you. If you're watching this and you do have a booktube channel, consider yourself tagged if I haven't tagged you. And just remember that life is chaos. So be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and read more books. Bye.